Good morning and welcome to Conversations in Care on the Third Planet Network. We are talking with Gia Claire this morning. She is an author, speaker, and 100% motivation, which is what I think we need on a Friday morning. And I'm excited to have her on, especially on Halloween, because we're talking about humor. And what a great day to talk about humor. And welcome to the show, Gia.
Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate you having me.
Oh,
Happy Halloween.
Okay, so since we're talking humor, I heard this joke this morning. So I'm going to start with this joke. So you have to
tell me about the joke. Okay.
You have to laugh once I say this joke, okay?
No problem.
So what room can a ghost not live in your house?
It's got to start with a boo. It's got to start with a boo. I don't know. The boudoir? What room?
Living room. He can't live in the living room.
Oh, I have a series of boo jokes, so that's where I was at. Okay. But to be clear, those were boo jokes for my 5-year-old at the time. That was a long time ago. Nicely done. I'd work on it just a little bit.
Yeah, I need a lot of work on that.
Yeah, but we're laughing, so it worked.
There we go. So, Gia, I wanted to start out if you could maybe share a little bit about your story. Share with us.
Yeah. Well, you kind of nailed it in the writing of the bio. I was in corporate for 17 years in a leadership role in the sales and medical. So I've been working with doctors for 20 years. Then I lost that role, and then I submerged myself into my real passion, motivational speaking, and then somehow, I wrote my book head first, which is a story about life after divorce. I wrote that while I was working, and then I got into there, and there it is. And copies behind me. And then I was sort of coerced into doing comedy and dared, and then that became another extension of what I do, which I know we'll talk more about laughter, but that became a platform, a fearless platform to do anything. And then I created my online course, Unstuck, how to get unstuck in any area of life. So I'm still speaking, I'm still doing comedy, and I'm still doing my Unstuck course. I also do have a leadership role. Leadership is one of my unique abilities after years of researching what am I good at. It's something I love, and leadership is an all-time thing, not a sometime thing. So it's kind of a full circle, and I put all those skills together pretty much on the daily.
That's perfect, and
yeah.
I've read your book, and I love the book. I think it's kind of an honest conversation about your life. There's a lot of humor in it. There's a lot that I connected with in regards to this story. You talk about your divorce, and one of my favorite parts was you were talking about your divorce and then going on Match and meeting these guys, and oh my gosh, I remember going.
I didn't have to make any of that up.
It was a humorous process for me as well, and I think one of the things that I wanted you to share was what part does humor play in your life now? You alluded to the fact that you do stand-up comedy and you're kind of coerced into that. So share with us how that happened.
Well, as you know, some of the parts in the book, my goal was to make it laugh out loud funny. I mean, if I could make you cry, if I could make you reflect on your life and then laugh, then I've really done something inside, your emotional vault that maybe you needed to open. So that's why I was kind of raw in the book, and I'm not even the same person. But a comedian friend of mine actually gave me some coaching on those chapters, and then he's like, you should be doing stand-up. You're innately funny. And I was like, no, thanks, but no. But ironically, this was now 2.5 years ago. 3 people in a 2-week period dared me to do it, and I was like, universal sign, I need to do this. So I did it, and I just kind of jumped. I didn't really have any coaching. I just made some stuff up, and I went on stage. And then from there, it became addictive, and then people kept saying, come back, and I was like, what? I was just dared to do this. But so I kept coming back, and now that has really changed my life, to be honest, being a comedian.
So how has it changed your life?
So people don't realize that often people think, oh, I'm funny, I'll get on stage and I'll tell some jokes. And I admire if that works, but the process behind writing jokes, number one, is an art. And so I love to write, as you know, so I love the art of thinking about a situation and now being able to go, okay, what's funny about this? What's weird about this? What's strange about this? What's interesting about this? And then turning that into maybe a message or a moral or just something funny that you can laugh at yourself. So I respect the writing process, so it's changed that, because now I can be in any environment, a traffic jam, and where normally people would get frustrated and angry, I can go, okay, I know there's something funny about this that someone else will relate to, and they'll laugh about if I can bring that out. The other thing is I'm raising a teenage son. He is 14. In fact, I have quite a bit of comedy material on him. And he's 6'5", so he's huge. And so, you know, as a single mom, I have to talk to I have to talk to my son about certain topics, and so I wrap everything in comedy, and it allows me just to, the discussions we have would be unbelievable. I couldn't even tell you. So, but it allows me to be fearless and bolder in any area of my life, and that's just a particular area right now, raising a teenage son where, you know, sex, drugs, the influence of so many things. I cannot mince words. I have to be straight, and having that comedy platform, I can wrap it into a joke where he'll remember it. And then it's just created, again, a fearless platform. I can be in any situation like, look, I've done comedy, whatever. This is nothing, you know, so it's done that. Yeah. The last thing I will say, how it's changed my life, and this really is the topic here today, people come to a comedy club. Maybe they just came out to laugh with their girlfriends or their spouse, but some people come because they're going through things in life, you know. One of my very best friend is going through some chemo now from a double mastectomy, and my goal every day is to make her laugh. You know, and we'll talk about that. But when people come to a comedy club, sometimes they're just leaving their cares at the door and they want to laugh. So if I'm able to do that, that's a gift. So I get to give that gift, and when people laugh, it's instant. You know, I don't have to wait to get a report card or a summary. If you laughed, job done, drop the mic, I'm out. It's a long answer, but it's a life changer.
No, and I love that answer, and you kind of gave me the perfect segue, because, you know, with the platform of Conversations in Care, one of the things that I'm consistently looking at is how can we not only care for patients and the people that we care for as a caregiver, but there's also this other piece of the puzzle that I'm starting to talk more about, which is self-care. And I think it's important for us to figure out whether maybe we're in the stage where we're the patient right now or we're the caregiver right now. How can we care for ourselves? And I think there's a lot to be said for how humor can really help through all of those situations. And I was doing a little bit of research, and I was having a tough time finding some research, but the one thing that I did find, which was interesting, there's a gentleman by the name of Norman Cousins, and he wrote something called The Anatomy of an Illness, and he talked about how humor was very helpful to him, where he did some research where 10 minutes of humor gave him 2 hours of painless sleep, which for him at that time with what he was going through was amazing to him. And I know you're bound with research, and I think there's some great things that are out there that we can really learn from in regards to humor and how it is healing, and maybe even how it connects us as people too.
Tammy, I didn't hear that question.
No, I was just wondering what you can share with us in regards to, you know, what's the research out there, what's behind this, how humor can be.
Sorry, that broke up a little bit. But if I'm going to answer this, I think you're asking the impact of humor on self-care and healing. Yeah. Is that correct? Tammy? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so let me go nerd on you real quick, because I love this part. And as you know, you've heard me speak, I don't give my opinions because I think people would rather hear what the data, what the science, what the leading experts in all of these fields would offer. And that's I read about a book a week because I love the idea of looking at self-care from a biological perspective, a scientific, metaphysical, spiritual, and then you can put all those pieces together. And as they overlap, they have increasingly large amounts of credibility behind the data, the research, so they become unrefutable, in my opinion. And again, you've seen me speak. You know how passionate. So there's two components. There's the art of living a joyous life. Okay. Dr. Christiana Northrup is one of my favorite speakers. I recommend anyone listening to this. She's an author, a speaker. She's an OBGYN, and she has several books about basically living joyously, which I'll get to in a second. And the second piece is the science behind the sound ha. That's the sound of laughter, which is actually the sound of magic and miracles. So you want me to go into both of those now?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Dr. Northrup, she talks about joyous living. So as you talk about self-care or healing, you know, depending on what your situation is, preventative, or if you're in the middle of something, even like menopause, as women we talk, you know, I'm not going through that, I just want to clarify. But those women that are, here's the thing. Joyous living is so important. So this is the concept of, you know, having an arsenal of things that bring you joy. So, you know, for some people that's reading a good book. It's a delicious glass of wine. It's traveling. It's, you know, taking a nice hot shower. Whatever it is, the more things that you can do every single day that just bring you joy. And the simple things. I mean, I have 2 dogs. Thankfully, they're not barking. Sometimes just petting one of them or playing with one of them causes great joy. So think about whatever it is that causes you joy. Cooking a nice meal, just maybe the process of cooking it, and not carrying over guilt, but eating it and enjoying it. You know, Dr. Northrup points out that people can go to Italy, eat their way through Italy, and not gain a pound because they savor and enjoy the food. Okay, so this is what happens now from a physical perspective. So now chemistry kicks in, and nitric oxide is released. Okay, so picture the blood vessels, you know, which are all over your body. In the inside lining, the endothelium, nitric oxide is released. Okay, it's like odorless puffs of air, just puff, puff, puff. Like when you have a great cardiovascular workout, you know that feeling afterwards, like, oh, I do Bikram yoga. So the best feeling, one of the best feelings in life for me, is that moment from the end of yoga to hours after that just feels so good. And this is why you feel good. Nitric oxide is released, okay? So this acts as sort of a an Uber transmitter for all of the beta endorphin, prolactin, serotonin, norepinephrine that increase, okay, that normally we take Prozac for or Zoloft for. So this biochemical release creates the feel good, and it actually works as an antidepressant. It creates joy. For a woman, it actually increases her leadership and her power, and actually increases enlightenment because there are channels, okay, called nadis, N-A-D-I-S. I told you we're going science on you.
You went total nerd.
I know, but let me explain. So these channels actually create enlightenment because they work with the pineal gland. And so let me circle back to the question of self-care. If you just took away from that 5-minute dissertation about nitric oxide that you need to feel good, that you need to do things that are joyous, and you need to have an arsenal of those things that are not just that once annual trip or, you know, that monthly dinner with the girlfriends, because that is preventative. You know, research shows that the best pharmacy you will ever have is between your ears, so that you don't need all of these antidepressants, and that chemical dependency really, or chemical imbalances don't actually exist. That's what some of the research says. In fact, there was a study done in Germany where there were mentally ill patients, and they gave them regular dance breaks. So they had 2 groups. One they gave medicine, one they gave regular dance breaks. You want to know which group improved? The one that had dance breaks. So if you're ill right now, if you're depressed right now, if you're feeling blue about something, get up and dance, okay? I know it sounds silly. I do it regularly. I dance because that's the science behind that. So I'll pause there before I talk about the science of Ha. Isn't that fascinating, though?
No, you know what? It is hugely fascinating, and I worked in a nursing home. Wow, this has probably been about 10, 12 years ago, and one of the things that we did, and this was actually for the staff, we would periodically, this is when we still had the overhead systems, we would periodically just announce a dance break we didn't even really announce it. We just put the music on, and the whole staff stopped, and wherever they were, if they're passing meds, they started dancing. And it was amazing what it did to staff morale, and then what it did for the residents, because they saw us being joyful. It was amazing what that did. Yes. You know, and we danced for like 60 seconds, and it was just
laugh.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. And even if you're, okay, so should we talk about ha and why laughter is so important now?
Absolutely.
So there is a vibration of love. It's 528 hertz. And so I would suggest anyone listening to this, and I know you're a big fan of this, put it in your YouTube, put 528 hertz. So even if you're not healing from something, if you just have, if you're interested in increasing your wellness, so 528 hertz is the sound of love. It's the vibration. A blade of grass vibrates at 528 hertz, the center of the rainbow, the botanical world. And we're always vibrating. I mean, that's a whole other concept. We won't get into that, but there's always energy. Always energy is moving, and we're vibrating, and we're sending something out like a boomerang. It's coming back to us. Not some of the time, all of the time. So 528 is the sound of love. 741 is dissonant to love. It's you can't play those sounds at the same time. Most people actually operate under, you know, on the other side of the scale, which goes to A Course in Miracles. There's two emotions that drive everything. There's love and there's fear. So 528 hertz is the sound of love. Okay. So the sound ha, I don't sing. That's the closest I will get to that. But ha is the sound of love. So why is that so important? So laughter, right? Actually, if you look at the sound ha, if you look at God, Buddha, Krishna, Allah, Tao, Ra, they all have that sound, ah, ha. And so this is not accidental. This is not, gee, that makes sense. No, this is real. This is science. So when you're in a situation where your DNA is, you know, obviously your body is in disease state, and people think they can't even affect DNA. Well, research says by listening to these sounds, and if you put this in your YouTube browser, you'll come up with a million things. The solfeggio harmonics, which I know we've listened to, which is just a beautiful sound to just lift any mood in 6 minutes, 5 minutes. But you can actually find healing beats. There's so many meditative things. You put headsets on, and it works in your sleep. So the sound, the 528 hertz, is not just laughter. But getting back to the simple laughter, it's actually been proven that people have cured diseases by watching funny movies. There's research, breast cancer before surgery, never needing surgery. I forget the name of the study, but a woman had breast cancer, and she literally just decided with her husband, we're going to laugh our way through this, and she actually did. She healed herself. Now, I'm not saying it's that simple. I'm not dismissing Western medicine, to be clear. But get yourself to laugh. If you're in a situation, any awkward situation, if you're starting a meeting, if you have an intense situation, you're walking into a funeral, anything, get yourself to laugh. You know, if you have XM radio, put Comedy Central on. You have Pandora, you can put in your favorite comedian. You can go on YouTube. So what I'm saying is there's no excuse to not find a way, either through the typical comedian route or get an arsenal of movies, Netflix, and just submit yourself to the presence of laughter. Go to a comedy club. Right? Get out and start laughing, and you'll find that laughter, now we're releasing nitric oxide, now the depressive state we were in, or possibly the disease state we're in, is lifted, and you will see biochemical changes. It's just simply proven. And it's beautiful, and it goes back to, I mean, it's the oldest information that we have.
You know what?
I can go on. You know, I'm passionate about this. And I love laughter. I'll start anything off with laughter. Just when you have, see, here's the thing. When people begin to laugh, so may I take this one step further?
Well, go right ahead. Absolutely.
Okay. So Marianne Williamson, her interpretation of the Course in Miracles, everyone probably knows Marianne Williamson, and she wrote a book called Return to Love. And so one of the things that she talks about is, so you know, ask and you shall receive, right? Ask and you shall receive. It's written in the Bible, as it is given unto you. Ask and it is given unto you. So people don't realize. They think that they ask with their words. You know, I want to be healed. I want to be happy. And when you say you want to, you will continue to put it out there as your subconscious mind saying, well, I guess we still don't have it. So the subconscious mind, which is millions of times more powerful than the conscious mind, you own that. You own that. You program that, right? So when you put the I am in there, I am healthy, I am strong, the subconscious mind's like, okay, cool, we are. Okay, but now getting back to what Marianne says, so we have all these blessings of healing, of love, the perfect partner, the whatever the case, right? And then we're here, healings are coming, we block them. We block them with the don't wants. If we paid attention to our language every day, those 60,000 thoughts that roll around, most of them are negative and worrisome, and you know this, right? We all do this. But then you block the blessings. Okay, so in order to unblock, to release that blockage so you can receive the knowledge, the wisdom, the inspiration, the healing, laughter is like it removes the blockage, because you can't laugh and be angry at the same time. Have you ever tried to laugh and be mad at somebody? You just can't. You know what I mean? So you simply can't. So if you stay in the place of love, which can be easily achieved through laughter, through gratitude, affirmations, things like that, you can't be in fear, which means you're going to unblock those blessings and that healing. So, and I'm not saying it's so easy to do, especially if you're in a situation of illness, I understand, but you have to start unblocking.
And I think that's it. There's a couple of things that I kind of just want to talk about, or kind of reiterate what you said, because some really great things. I know, about 2.5 years ago, when my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, it was a really tough year for him. He was angry, he was fearful. I was the same. But he's an amazingly humorous kid. And I think by him consistently every single day, making a joke or finding a new way to, be funny about diabetes. And, his very first thing was, at that time, YOLO was the big thing.
Sure.
Well, at the time he was taking a type of insulin called Lantus, and he only took it once a day. So we always said, YOLO, you only Lantus once. So it was his way of consistently putting that humor in about diabetes was something that he had to deal with daily. And the changes I've seen in him, because he's done that every day, it's amazing. It's really cool to see how he's changed, and how he's at the age of 15, I has a little more intelligence around this than I do. But it's amazing. And the other thing that I found amazing with that, and that I see with humor with you and many people, is being connected. It's a way for us to connect with other people. And I think that's important as we build this arsenal. And I love that concept of building the arsenal, because we all get in a funk, and that will be the first thing I do. I might let myself be in that funk for a little while, and then I go to the TV. I put on Impractical Jokers, and I'm constantly laughing.
I love that.
Anyway, and I'm because you're right. At that point when I'm laughing, I can't be mad at anybody else.
You just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm really glad that you were on to be able to share some of that wisdom, and to share some of those thoughts. And, and I love the fact that if we can carry around, a humor arsenal to help us, how wonderful that is. And, and I think, within knowing you and your book, I know that you lived in a place of fear at one point in time. And maybe you can share how you put some of all of these little things into place. Maybe it was just one thing at a time to really get you to the place of really being in love, working from love, that place of love.
Tammy, there was a lag there. I think you're asking me how I made that transition from fear to love?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that one. So living in a place of fear, which means, efforting out of fear, wanting people's acceptance, or just I need more money, or whatever the case. Most people do, and fear has many faces, to be clear. It's not just, oh, I'm afraid. It's, it's jealousy, bitterness, envy, hopelessness, despair, grief, We all feel those. They're all very normal range of emotions. And I remember believing that there is supposed to be more. Like, this is not how this is supposed to be. This is not the story that was written. Now, where I got that, probably my connection through God. You know, again, every belief there. But I remember turning to that source. I was always connected to source, so it wasn't like one day I woke up was like, Laura, are you there? So for me, that, you know, that was a relationship I always had. But thinking that, you know, if I were to peel back, I started actually listening to Joel Osteen quite a bit, and still to this day, he's on every morning at our house. But thinking that if I could, you know, if I were to have the red velvet curtain pulled back on my life, is that what it's supposed to look like? You know, sadness, despair, aloneness, unsettled, unfulfilled. I don't think so. I didn't, you know, and nobody's curtain has that stuff behind it. Okay, so even if you have challenges, you know that if you realize a couple of important things, and this is where through my spirituality, and then I dove myself into the books. I'm like, well, people, you know, Wayne Dyer doesn't own half of Maui for no reason. You know, Louise Hay, oh my God, countless thought leaders have poured through and read their books to understand, okay, I really do have more control over my life by changing my thinking. So understanding that I'm right where I am, there's no need to beat myself up for having not done this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that everything happens for me. That's really critical, that even traffic jams happen for me, flight delays happen for me. You know, if you really get your mind around that, where I'm supposed to be. And then, you know, I'm very big into affirmations and living in that place of fear. So number one, acknowledging, like, I do deserve more. I'm worthy of more. This is not how this book is ending, okay? This is not how this is going down. And then taking action. You know, people like to talk about change, you know, a lot of lip service, but then, and you know, when we went through our coursework, there are people that do the work, there are people that don't do the work. I wanted to change very badly, okay, to step into my greatness, my authenticity, the purpose for my life. The Alchemist, I recommend that, a great book. You know, your purpose will definitely be revealed. But taking action. So for me, it was reading. It was putting myself in uncomfortable situations. I firmly believe that to go from fear to love, you have to be uncomfortable to grow. That's at the right beyond that level of discomfort is where life really begins. And then taking that action, then rinsing and repeating. Rinsing and repeating. Like, I receive an intuitive, okay, I should read this book. Like, sometimes I'll walk past this library of books, there's some of them right there, and I'll just be like, okay, what should I read? And something will just speak to me, and I'll read it. So taking action and then keeping the affirming, you know, that includes cleaning out the people that you're in your circle sometimes. If you're the smartest one in that circle, you've got to get a new circle. You know, if they're not expanding you, but you feel constricted with these people, or you're finding you're replaying that country song of this sucks and that sucks, you got to start changing that stuff up and surrounding yourself with like-minded people. So that's a long answer because it is a loaded question. It doesn't just happen like, oh, I started thinking positive and everything changed. I wish. It's not just walk away and say, well, I'm a positive person. It's more than that. It's divine thinking. It's that next level thinking to get your life where you want it, you know, and it starts between your ears, but then you take action, you know, so it's a journey. It's never over. But so, in summary, yeah.
Oh, I love it. This has been exactly what, you know, I was looking for, and really where I wanted to kind of hopefully guide people that, you know, it is a journey. It is something that, you know, you kind of have to plant your feet in, and like you said, you know, figure out the things that are going to be right for you. Is it a book that you want to read that's going to help, you know, to keep increasing that level of, you know, confidence, or that level of, you know, I can't think of the word at the moment, which
determination, you know, if you really want to change, you will.
Absolutely, you know, and those are the things, you know, and I'm going to put a plug in for the course that you do about getting unstuck, and that was, you know, something that really helped me. I don't know how much of it really sunk in at that time, but it's something that,
Sure.
has continuously, day after day after day, has sunk in, where I've been able to do things such as, is it a book that I'm reading today? Is it someone that I'm listening to today? Am I looking at the words that I'm choosing to say today?
Yes.
It's all of those that are happening on a consistent basis, and changing my life, and hopefully changing the life of my children as well. So Gia, I am so thankful that you took some time out of your day to be with us, and I'm hoping that before you go, if you can share with us a little bit about how can people find your book, find your course, all of that.
Sure. So I'm actually going to be running another Unstuck course. I'm probably going to launch it after. I'm debating Christmas or Thanksgiving, but you can. It's the information about the course is on my website, www.giaclaire.com. I think it's down here.
It is. It's right down there.
Also, on my website is you can. There's a is on Amazon. And then you can email me if you have something on your mind. I love email. Not too much, so not too much email. But no, I do. I can correspond that way. My cell phone's actually on there, so very available. And I want to say one thing, if I can. Wherever you are right now in this situation of your life and whatever you're tuning in for, I would say to be gentle on yourself and to start right now with a moment of gratitude for your life, because you are where you are, and that's perfectly fine. You're never stuck. You start right where you are, and gratitude is the single most important way to show the universe, source, whatever you call it, that, like, you know what, I am really grateful. I'm breathing. I'm here. I'm alive. I have a nice bed, fuzzy slippers, whatever it is that you have. Be thankful, because the universe really does love grateful people, and that says, hey, I think I want to move this forward, and you'll get a little help right there. So I think that's what you asked. My website, the book is on Amazon. Performing comedy at the Abbey Pub on the North Side next week, and then at Zany's in Rosemont. But anyway.
And Gia, what I will do is I'll go ahead and put that information, your website on there, and if you want to send me the information about where you're going to be performing, send that to me, and I'll get that up on my Facebook page as well. So thank you so much for taking time out of your morning. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me. Mwah. Bye, Tammy.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.